So anyways, let's see. All right. So you wanted to know ways to register, ways to vote. Is that what you wanted to start out with? Okay.
Start with register, yeah.
Okay. All right. So registration deadline is October 13th. That is your last day to register to vote in the entire state of Virginia. So if we have not heard from you by then, our books are closed for the election. We can't make any changes. We can't add any voters. We can't take any voters out after October 13th. That helps us keep our rolls clean from then on to the election. There are 2 ways you can register to vote. You can vote paper form, come into the office, have me mail you one, or you can register through the Department of Elections website, and that comes electronically to me. Once we register you, we send you a voter card and tells you your precinct information, where you vote, and things like that. As far as voting, you know what? I was supposed to know. Did you ask me to get numbers?
If you have them, yes.
Give me 1 second. I'll get them. I forgot. We've voted around 850 already in person since September 18th. Come into the office to vote. We have never ever seen numbers like this before, especially this early. Typically the 2 weeks prior to the election is when we see the majority of our voters, and we can see on an average between 60 and 75. We've seen up to 80 in a day, and this is typically on a presidential, the 2 weeks prior. Our first 3 days, we were averaging 129 people. So it was insane. Now it has leveled out, and we have already voted in this, not including ballots we've mailed out, but just the ones that we've received and are counted. We've already, I think we're almost at 16% of our registered voters already. If we count the ones that I've mailed out and haven't received back, it's already almost 23%. So unprecedented numbers. We've never seen anything like this. We have a lot of new absentee voters. A lot of voters had no idea we ever voted in person 45 days before the election. It's a lot of education going on right now. If you wanted to vote by mail, you can request a ballot online through the Department of Elections website. It was what we call a citizen portal, and that's where you update your voter registration, your absentee ballot, you request an absentee ballot, anything like that, you do through the citizen portal. You can mail in an application. There's a lot of controversy right now. There's a lot of claims that, ballots are being mailed out unsolicited. It's not the case here in Virginia. A lot of people that are saying that are actually receiving applications from third-party groups or the campaigns themselves. But I actually have to have an application with your social, with your physical address, and your signature for me to mail out a ballot. And as far as in-person voting, it's actually set up, we've got it set up just like as if you were voting in the precinct on election day. This year, it's the new way of voting. It's no excuse absentee voting, and which means, I don't know if any of you have voted absentee before, but typically if you came in to vote absentee in person, we would have you fill out an application and just give us a reason why you couldn't show up on election day. Now we don't have to do that anymore. You just show us your identification and you vote right on the machine, just like as if you were in the polls. There was a slight change in identification rules this year. You can still use a photo identification, but they added back the voter card and or utility bill with your residence address and your name on it. So those are acceptable this year going forward as well. Let me see. And of course, we the in-person voting, we vote Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 at our office, which is at the new courthouse complex. We have a voting window available for people who don't want to come inside. And we also have a voting room. So, and then October 24th and the 31st are the 2 Saturdays that our office will be open for voting. Those hours are also 8 to 4. As far as the vote by mails, we are getting the majority of our ballots hand delivered. And we haven't, knock on wood, we haven't had any problem. You can only deliver your own ballot. You can't deliver your husband or your wife or anybody. So we've been having the majority of our people drop off ballots in person. But we have been having, some come by mail as well. So those are the 2 ways you can return your absentee by mail ballots. We do not have a drop box. I know Gloucester has one. The electoral board, and it had to be under video surveillance 24 hours a day. The legislature had just put out the ruling on this about a week and a half before we started voting. So we decided we were not going to have a drop box. Let me see. Oh, drop-off location. Our office is a drop-off location, obviously. And if you have an absentee ballot, the new law says that you are not to stand in line with voters. If you are dropping off a ballot, you simply walk past a voter and hand deliver it to us, where we check it in front of you, not the ballot, but the envelope B. We check it to make sure everything is correct so that your vote will count. And it gives you the opportunity to fix it right then and there. If something, if you put like 310 Main Street and it's supposed to be 301, we give you the opportunity to fix that, whereas we've never done that before. And drop-off locations at the polls. This is another new thing for voters. If you want to deliver your ballot on Election Day, we will be having a tent outside. We're going to combine Westville and Chesapeake precincts, since they're pretty much connected. We're going to have a 1 drop-off location there. We're going to have a tent and staff there. So you can just drop your ballot off. You don't have to go inside. It's actually going to be in the bus loop. So you can just, you don't even have to get out your car. And then at the high school, we're going to have a drop-off location there as well. And throughout the day, the electoral board will be going around and picking them up and bringing them back to the office to be processed. I would not recommend waiting till Election Day to drop them off. The reason I say that is because if there is a mistake, we don't reach out to you on Election Day to fix it. That stops the Saturday prior to the election. So if you want your absentee ballot to 100% be counted, I would recommend you turn it in sooner than later so that we can ensure that everything is correct. There's been a lot of questions as to whether Election Day will actually be Election Day, and we will be open all the polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. just as normal. We do have precautions put in place. You know, our people will be wearing masks. We've got sanitizer. We're going to be wiping down the booths after each use. You know, we're going to do our best to limit the contact. And luckily here, we do not have a shortage at this point of poll workers. So we're pretty lucky. I know some places across the state are not, but our people really have stepped up. I covered a lot of information. Is there anything else that you want me to cover? Or I know there's probably a
Carla,
lot.
I think they unmuted me, and one of the questions that that we have gotten is that some people false information that people are voting twice. And would you please tell everybody the procedure when somebody requests an absentee ballot and when it returns, what your office and what Virginia does?
Okay, sure. Yeah, that has been, we've encountered that. We've seen a lot of things, questions that we've never had before. So just so you all know, whether you come in person or whether you request an absentee ballot by mail, you are marked in the system. The system is what prompts that absentee ballot label to be produced. So I don't go and just make up the labels on a typewriter or anything. They are produced from our system, which logs everything. When you vote in person, as I said, you're logged into the same system. When you show up, and we've had this almost daily, people show up, want to vote in person, and you're marked. It's got a big red flag and it says AB, which indicates to us that you have a ballot issued to you in some way, shape, or form. That prompts us to say, you know, do you have we mailed you a ballot? Oh yeah, it's at home. And you know, so they have to either surrender that ballot, meaning they have to bring it in and hand it over to us if they want to vote in person, or what we're asking them to do is just fill out the ballot and turn it in and just finish the process the way they started it. Same thing goes with the polls. Every single night, we run a poll book here in our office, and every single night I build a new file. Basically, everybody that's voted, it uploads, whether I mailed you a ballot or whether you voted in person. I upload the file, so it is fresh every single day, and we're constantly entering people into Verus, which is what our state-supported system is called. So, you know, it's just it's not. It doesn't happen. And that is across the state, the same process. We all do the same thing. When you're marked in Verus as voted, you're done. If you show up on election day and you show a flag, unless you surrender your ballot on election day, you will be voting provisional. You will not put a ballot in the machine, because if we find out, oh yeah, we did get a ballot, and oh, they did slide the ballot in the machine, then that would be voting twice. And that's the reason we have to issue a provisional. Now, if we can prove that there was absolutely no ballot turned in on our end, your provisional vote will be counted. It basically just gives us time to do our research and make sure that we only have one ballot for one person. I'm not sure, I don't know why all of a sudden provisional, it's scaring people. They show up and we say, if you don't surrender your ballot, then you're going to have to, you're going to have to vote provisionally today. And I'm not sure what they've heard about provisional, but it basically just allows us to do our research. And, we don't decline every single provisional ballot. Obviously, I don't know where it's coming from, but again, it's just, it allows us to do our research.
And Carla, tell them the research behind the provisional ballot out of the area, wrong name, tell them why we're given provisional ballots and why we have to look at them and when we count them.
Okay, so provisional ballots are all reviewed. We canvass the election the day after, so it'll be like the Wednesday, the 4th. The first thing we do is look at every single provisional ballot that was issued throughout the election. The election officials' guidance is to let me know before they issue a provisional. That way I have time to pull up the voter on our system, see what's going on, and give a recommendation to the electoral board as to whether they should decline it or accept it. Typically our provisional ballots are issued for, it used to be, we used to have some photo identifications. People would show up and didn't have a photo ID. That isn't applicable this year since they changed that a bit. We will have a handful of people that are registered, say in Gloucester, and we, tell them, ma'am, you're registered in Gloucester. We would recommend you go to Gloucester to ensure your vote is counted. If they absolutely refuse to leave, then we do offer them a provisional ballot. And, in an instance like that, you have to vote where you're registered. So that instance would be declined. We would not accept that vote because they're not registered in Mathews County. That's pretty much, non-registered voters is our main one that we get. They're registered somewhere else in the state, and we always, and that's the reason I have them call me, because my system, I can see everybody in the state of Virginia. So while they're standing there, I can say, sir, you're registered in King William. You have time to get to King William to ensure your vote is casted. And if they don't want to do that, then we issue a provisional.
In the past, Carla,
when
we've had problems with DMV not letting us know whether or not a new person has moved in, whether or not they're in fact registered. DMV has changed per the state legislature. They've changed their application now. So very rarely now do we get a DMV mishap.
Right. Yeah, we haven't seen one in years.
Carla, could you talk about the issue some people are having with the mail-in ballots, with the witnessing of the ballot before they mail it in?
Okay, so typically in any other election that we've ever run, you need a witness signature. It doesn't mean your witness has to watch you vote. It means your witness has to watch you take your ballot out of the envelope, and it means that your witness must watch you put it back in, just to ensure that you voted your ballot. Because of COVID this year, and this was applicable in June as well, that requirement was waived. So if you do not have a witness signature, your vote will still count. We're not declining it this year because of a missing witness signature. Those, unfortunately, we already had our envelopes printed by the time the legislature had made this decision. This was another week and a half prior to the election or start of absentee voting. Our instructions say you do not need a witness signature, but our envelopes, we already had them by the time. So there is a little bit of confusion about that, but you will not be disqualified if you do not have one.
Good. The other thing I was wondering about, since you put I guess the absentee mail-in ballots and the ones that are done in person right in the machine, how quickly do you expect to be able to get a count?
So the absentee by mails are not put into the machine until we bring our CAP officers, which is our central absentee precinct. We'll probably pre-process. Basically, we need people from both parties and the party chairs invited to what we call pre-processing to witness it. And that's where they will actually open the ballot and scan it in the machine. We don't do that here. We scan the machines scan the ballots in for the in-person voters.
Okay, so how long, so you'll know those right away then? When the polls close?
They go in the same machines. So all day long on election day, CAP will be inserting these ballots into the machine. So it's an ongoing thing. At the end of the day on election day at 7 o'clock, it'll probably be a little later this year because of the drop-off locations. We need to make sure that if a voter shows up at 7 o'clock with their ballot at a drop-off location, we need to make sure that that ballot gets to us before we shut the machine down. So it shouldn't be too terribly long after that. Now, another new rule this year is we have to accept ballots that are postmarked by election day. So, and that goes until Friday at noon. So we cannot officially close our election until Friday at noon. I don't anticipate I hope people will get their ballots in, and we might have a handful, but, Friday at noon, that is the drop dead date. That's when the electoral board will certify the election, and our numbers to the state prior to Friday at noon will be unofficial. Typically, they're unofficial election night all the way until canvass the next day. They'll be really unofficial across the state until Friday at noon.
Hey, Carla, and Dan, I have a question.
Sure.
Something I learned last night was in 8 states, absentee and other early voting ballots are not opened until election day. They're held, but not opened. Where does Virginia stand on that?
Yeah, we vote by mails. We do not open until either election night or until we pre-process.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And typically, the only time we pre-process is on presidentials when we have just a very large amount of vote by mails where we're concerned that it would take too long on election day. This obviously falls under that category. So we will probably call in our CAP officers, call the party chairs in maybe a week or two prior to the election, process all the ballots that we have in until that date, scan them in the machine, and then anything that comes in after that date will be all that CAP will have to process on election day. So it's just easier for them.
And how many are you estimating that's going to be?
Total?
Total. The mail-in.
Well, we're almost at 700 already, and I'm getting about 20 in a day. I'm mailing out about 20 a day. So, this election is pretty hard to gauge because we've just never seen anything like it. So I have no idea, to be honest with you. I mean, at the rate they're going, 20 a day, I mean, we might get up to, 1,600 absentee ballots. or more. I mean, the first mailing, which is before voting even started, we had 550 that we mailed out. So that was, you know, on a typical presidential, we may have had 10. So it just,
Yeah,
who knows?
we have already voted
Mhm.
early in person, and I highly recommend that. It was very simple, very pleasant experience, and it took probably about 5 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
No line. So,
Yeah, and you know, if there is a small line, people aren't waiting over a couple minutes. It's been moving very smoothly. We've, you know, most days, pretty much every day, unless it's raining, we've had the voting window open and the room. Knock on wood, we haven't had any complaints. Everybody's been very happy with the new location and the new, you know, facilities and everything we've got. So, yeah. We're happy with it. I don't know how we would have done it in the old building. It would have been very difficult.
well, this is great parking too, right there at the walkway.
It is. It is. And we've done quite a few curbside voting, curbside voters. You know, first, you know, a lot of people didn't realize that, you know, we have a lot of elderly voters. And they're calling in wanting to know, you know, how they can vote. And so we've, you know, let a lot of people know about that. And they've been so thankful that, you know, we offer that. And that's another thing. We offer that at the polls as well.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
Well, Mike?
He's muted.
He's
there.
muted.
Now, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I want to compliment you. Thank you for doing such a phenomenal job. We too voted the first day and there was virtually no waiting. But my
Thank you.
question is, when we have voted at our designated precinct places in the past, the results were posted in the newspaper a few days later by precinct.
Mhm.
And when we voted last week, there was no mention of precinct anywhere. Is that a parameter that we don't need anymore?
No, that is a parameter for election day. When you vote early, you're voting in what's called CAP. That is your central absentee precinct. So basically, you don't, you know, you don't have to tell me which precinct that you belong to. We know, and we just process you as you voted early. On election day, they have to, you know, voters have to go to their regular precincts. So you'll be, if you look at your results on election night, you're going to be under absentee.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Everybody's happy? I hope you all, if you haven't voted, that you're going to vote, and you're going to get all your friends and neighbors to vote too, because this is a critical election, and I'm sure we all want to have a say in it. So we thank you very much, Carla, for all your hard work.
Sure.
No, it's not going to be an easy couple of months for you here, and you're probably going to be up pretty late on election night too. So we'll be
Yeah.
thinking about you, and
Thank
we
you.
appreciate everything you're doing for not only for the election, but for all of us in the Hack County too. We appreciate it. Thank
No
you very
problem.
much.
I just want to just say one thing. There was a question of how does Carla get appointed? It's when that Ruth Ann was going to be leaving us, she looked at about a half a dozen people who were so-called qualified. And the electoral board at that time went and reviewed each individual. We met with them, and Carla outshined everybody that we interviewed. And so it was probably a 4-month ordeal that we looked into it, and we couldn't have picked a better one. So we have great confidence in Carla and her ability, and with her people that she has working with her. It's a good team. It's a good working team, and it works well. And the electoral board also works well, even though it's a 2-1 split. We almost always do 3-zip. So
Yes.
we have a good working relationship all around.
Yes. And we also have a good working relationship with both the parties. We are, we reach out to them whenever we need. So we also have a great working relationship with them. But thank you, Josie.
I just want to say there's.
Yes, thank you, Josie, for all your work. Karen, did you have a question?
Okay.
Karen has a comment.
Karen, I think she's muted.
Yeah, unmute. There you go.
Okay, I'm unmuted. The Library of Virginia, it has an exhibit on women's suffrage movement to open the votes for women. So that is running at the Library of Virginia in Richmond till May 28th, and it sounds really good. I haven't seen it, but it's open to visitors Tuesdays through Fridays, 10 to 4. I just thought you all might be interested in that. And it sounds very good.
Yeah, if we didn't have COVID, maybe we could talk Betty into doing a field trip.
I know, I was thinking,
I don't think we can get on a bus right now, unfortunately.
yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
But individually, you might want to go. But I enjoyed this program very much. Thank you so much. It was very good.
Thank you, caller.
Thank you,
You're
Carla.
welcome.
Thanks
Thank
for all
you.
the PATH members who are on. We see your beautiful faces. Sorry we can't be together. So God bless.
Yeah.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for
Thank
putting
you,
this
Ron.
together.
Everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Carla.
Brenda.
Bye. No problem.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'm gonna
Hi, everybody.
Hi,